You are scrolling through Zillow at 2 a.m., looking at houses in Austin that cost more than anything back home. The property taxes alone would cover your car payment. And you're wondering, is everyone else seeing these numbers, or did I miss something? Over 700 people move to Texas every single day. That's not an exaggeration. That's the actual math when you break down the latest migration data. We're talking about 250,000 people annually choosing to uproot their lives and head to the Lone Star State. But here's what nobody's talking about. The Texas people are moving to in 2026 looks very different than the one from 5 years ago. The prices have changed. The job market has evolved, and some of the advantages that made Texas famous, they're not quite what they used to be. So today, we're cutting through the Instagram reels and the political talking points to look at the actual numbers. What does it really cost to live there now? Where are the jobs actually growing? And most importantly, is Texas still the deal everyone thinks it is, or are people chasing a myth? I'm going deep on the data you actually need if you're considering this move. Let's get into it. First, let's establish what's actually happening, because the headlines don't tell the full story. Yes, Texas gained more residents than any other state in recent years, but when you dig into who's moving and why, it gets more interesting. About 60% of people relocating to Texas are coming from just 5 states: California, Florida, Louisiana, Oklahoma, and New York. And they're not spreading out evenly. They're concentrating in 4 major metro areas. Austin, Dallas, Houston, and San Antonio are absorbing the vast majority of this influx. Which means if you're thinking about Texas, you're really deciding between these cities and their surrounding suburbs. Each one has a completely different economic profile, cost structure, and lifestyle. So let's break down what you're actually walking into. Here's where we need to separate 2026 Texas from the Texas of migration mythology. The median home price in Austin right now is hovering around $550,000 to $580,000. Let me put that in perspective. That's actually higher than Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, and Minneapolis. It's approaching Seattle levels. The affordable Texas narrative, it doesn't apply to Austin anymore. Dallas is sitting around $380,000 to $420,000 depending on the suburb. Houston's a bit better at $320,000 to $360,000. San Antonio is the most accessible of the major metros, with median prices around $290,000 to $310,000. For rent, you're looking at roughly $1,500 to $1,700 for a decent one-bedroom in Houston or San Antonio, $1,800 to $2,200 in Dallas, and $2,000 to $2,500 in Austin. Those Austin numbers are comparable to what you'd pay in parts of Los Angeles or Boston. Now this is where Texas fights back on cost. No state income tax. That's real money back in your pocket. If you're earning $80,000, you're keeping about $5,000 to $7,000 more annually compared to states like California or New York. But, and this is important, Texas gets that revenue somewhere else. Property taxes are high. We're talking 1.6% to 2.3% effective rates depending on the county. On a $400,000 home, you could be paying $7,000 to $9,000 annually in property taxes. Sales tax hovers between 6.25% and 8.25%, depending on the city. So you need to actually do the math for your situation. If you're renting and making good money, the income tax savings are substantial. If you're buying property, those savings get partially offset. Groceries, gas, utilities, Texas is legitimately cheaper than most coastal states. You're probably looking at 10 to 15% less on everyday expenses compared to the Northeast or West Coast. Eating out is more affordable. Gas prices typically run 30 to 50 cents below the national average. But here's the hidden cost nobody mentions. You will need a car. Texas cities are built for driving. Even in walkable pockets of Dallas or Austin, your quality of life diminishes significantly without a vehicle. So factor in car payments, insurance, which is notably high in Texas, maintenance, and gas. Let's talk about why people are really moving. Jobs. Texas has landed some massive wins. Tesla's Gigafactory in Austin, Oracle's headquarters, Samsung's $17 billion chip plant north of Austin. HP, Charles Schwab, and CBRE moved operations to Dallas. The energy corridor in Houston continues to anchor oil and gas, but they're also growing in healthcare and aerospace. These aren't small moves. They bring thousands of high-paying jobs and create vendor ecosystems around them. But here's the reality. The tech salaries in Austin are about 15 to 25% lower than San Francisco or Seattle for equivalent roles. A senior software engineer making $220,000 in San Francisco might get offered $165,000 to $180,000 in Austin. Still solid money, but when you account for Austin's rising housing costs, your purchasing power advantage isn't as dramatic as it was 3 years ago. Dallas has a stronger corporate and finance presence. Companies like AT&T, American Airlines, and a growing financial services sector. The salary ranges are competitive, and because Dallas housing is cheaper than Austin, your money stretches further. Houston's economy is more cyclical because it's still tied to energy prices, but healthcare is booming. Texas Medical Center is the largest medical complex in the world. If you're in healthcare, engineering, or skilled trades, Houston offers serious opportunity at a lower cost of entry than Austin or Dallas. Construction and real estate are obviously hot, given the population surge. Logistics and warehousing are expanding. Texas is becoming a distribution hub. Healthcare continues to need workers at every level, and there's still significant opportunity in traditional energy, while renewable energy is also growing. Unemployment rates across major Texas metros are consistently at or below the national average, typically in the 3.5 to 4.5% range. The job market is genuinely strong. All right, let's get into the stuff that actually determines whether you'll be happy living somewhere. Texas is hot. I'm talking 100-plus degree days from June through September. Your electricity bill in summer will shock you. Running AC constantly can push bills to $300 to $400 per month in peak summer. You need to genuinely enjoy or at least tolerate heat and humidity, especially in Houston. Winters are mild, which people from northern states love. But the infrastructure isn't built for cold snaps. Remember the 2021 freeze that caused widespread power failures? Climate resilience is improving, but it's a legitimate concern. What Texas absolutely delivers: space. For what you'd pay for a cramped apartment in New York or San Francisco, you can get a house with a yard in many Texas suburbs. The suburban lifestyle is the default for most residents. Bigger homes, more room, easier parking. The trade-off is car dependency and sprawl. Your commute might be 30 to 45 minutes each way. Walkability is limited outside of specific urban pockets. This needs honesty. Texas cities have higher property crime rates than the national average. Houston, Dallas, and San Antonio all rank above average for vehicle theft and burglary. Violent crime varies significantly by neighborhood. Some areas are very safe, others struggle. The data shows if you're in established suburbs and newer developments, you're generally fine. Urban cores and certain districts require more research. This isn't unique to Texas, but it's worth knowing. Texas has a distinct identity. There's genuine state pride, strong sports culture. Football is practically religion, and a more conservative-leaning social environment overall, though the major cities are increasingly diverse and politically mixed. If you're moving from a major coastal city, you might find the dining and cultural scene less developed, though Austin, Dallas, and Houston are all improving rapidly. There's a real community feel in many neighborhoods, and people generally describe Texans as friendly and welcoming. Here's what's happening that changes the calculation. Other states are competing now. Tennessee offers no income tax and has Nashville and Chattanooga growing rapidly, with lower housing costs than Texas metros. Florida has the same income tax advantage, more developed cities, and beach access. North Carolina offers better infrastructure and education systems at competitive prices. The point isn't that Texas is worse, it's that the gap is closing. Texas isn't the only game in town for people fleeing high-tax states anymore. You need to know what specifically draws you to Texas beyond the tax savings, because that alone won't make up for everything else. Let me be direct about who wins in this move. You're in a strong position if you're in tech, finance, healthcare, or energy with transferable skills and a job offer in hand. If you're making $75,000 or more and currently paying high state income tax. If you value space, homeownership, and a car-oriented lifestyle. If you handle heat well and aren't bothered by long commutes. If you're entrepreneurial, Texas is business-friendly with lower regulatory friction. You might struggle if you're moving without a job lined up and limited savings. Competition is fierce if you require walkability and robust public transit, if you're in creative industries outside of Austin's tech scene, if you have strict preferences about progressive policies or cultural amenities, or if you're on a fixed income and need to buy property in Austin or Dallas. So is Texas still the opportunity people think it is? Yes, if you're strategic about it. The Texas of 2026 requires more homework than the Texas of 2019. You can't just show up and expect everything to be cheaper and easier. Austin especially has priced itself into a different category entirely. But if you target the right city for your industry, negotiate your salary knowing the real cost of living, and choose your neighborhood carefully, Texas still offers a combination of economic opportunity, job growth, and space that's hard to match. The 700 people moving there every day aren't all making a mistake, but they're also not all making the right choice for their specific situation. Here's what I'd recommend. Pick your Texas city based on your industry first, cost tolerance second. If you're in tech and can afford it, Austin offers the strongest network. If you're in corporate or finance, Dallas makes more sense. If you want the best value and work in healthcare or energy, Houston is underrated. If you want the Texas lifestyle at the lowest entry cost, San Antonio is your best bet. And whatever you do, visit first. Spend a week in August. Drive the commutes. Explore the neighborhoods. Texas is a big decision, and you want to make it with your eyes open. If this breakdown helped you think more clearly about Texas or any move you're considering, hit that subscribe button. We're building the most honest, data-driven city comparison channel out there because people like you deserve better than marketing fluff when making major life decisions. Drop a comment and tell me, are you considering Texas? Which city and what's holding you back? I read everything, and your questions shape future videos. And if you want the deep dive on specific Texas cities or comparisons to other states, check out the playlist linked below. We've got the data you need. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.